Boys, girls, all my Trumpaholics out there, welcome back to Other Robert. I'm Joe, I'm the other and other Robert, and this is my brief review of Season 6 of The Walking Dead. I say brief because can't go over 15 minutes with these videos, so let's get into it. Season 6, in my opinion, was one of the strongest seasons. This really kind of delivered on all fronts. It started off with, right after where Season 5 ended, Morgan comes back, and you know there's going to be a conflict of style, which we didn't necessarily get until towards the end of 6, in 6B. It wasn't really on the nose as much as we were expecting in 6A. But in 6A, it was definitely strong. It built up. We had the huge herd of walkers, which was really a sight to see. Some of the best visuals on the show was done this season. But the huge herd of walkers was unbelievable. And what 6A really did, which was different, was the entire half of the season was regarding one event. It was pretty much the same time frame for the entire season, or at least most of it when it comes to the first 8 episodes. So it was interesting in that sense, and seeing what kind of happens to everyone. We have Daryl, Abraham, and Sasha, and their encounter early on with the Saviors. We have Morgan, his background, his backstory. I believe it's "Here's Not Here." I believe is the title of the episode, where we learn his why he has his code of why he doesn't kill, and that was one of the series highs. Really just a fantastic episode. Whenever they do these one-off episodes where it's one character, just focus on them, it's usually a good episode, and you know you're in for a treat when you see it. And that one was definitely no exception. We had the Glenn fake-out death, which was interesting at the time. A lot of people hated it. I know, a lot of people hated it. I like it, though. I don't think we get that enough. However, the way it happened was really lame. He falls on top of him, and he still gets on the... Really, really lame. But the idea of it, I thought was cool. Especially Glenn, someone who might not be so safe right now. And I think if they kind of tease that, and then they actually do pull the trigger, I can see how a lot of people hate that, because a lot of people are complaining. But I love it. I think it's great storytelling. Kind of just faking out the crowd. But there's the Glenn fake out death, which seemed to go on for a while in 6A. We had the Wolves, which were ultimately nobody bad guys. However, it made for probably one of the more interesting character arcs this season in Carol. It made for a Carol turn. Because Carol, we see her just living the gimmick in 6A of just being this innocent kind of woman still, kind of just not who she is. You know, a wolf in sheep's clothing, pretty much. So, really, the Wolves, what that seemed to serve long term was when Denise and the main wolf, when he saved her, and he was starting to turn, and you see that. He was really changing his ways. He left. He could have got out. Granted, people are saying he might have wanted a doctor, but these people weren't all there, and I don't think he was thinking doctor. He didn't strike me as a, thinking long-term guy. He saw her in trouble, and he went back to help her. And when the main wolf did that, you saw this kind of turn. So you saw that Morgan can be right at times with this. And then Carol shoots him, and she saw what was going on, and that's what really led to what we saw with Carol when she's saying, I can't do this anymore. Because she's seen it. She's seen how she went too far. She's saying that it's too much. So The Carol storyline was one of the more interesting character storylines we've had, in my opinion, in the series, but definitely in the season. And that's going for the future. We'll see what happens more with that leading into season 7, and especially with Carol and Morgan. Love that pairing. A lot of people thought it was going to be Morgan and Rick, and we saw a little bit of that when it comes to kind of their clashing styles. But really, Carol's the more extreme, and Morgan's the more extreme, and we saw them kind of both level out in the back half of the season, with Morgan eventually killing someone in 6B in the finale. So really, the two of them are just kind of starting to level out. I think having those two characters together, because the season ends with them being together, which people are assuming will be the Kingdom. It looked like a new group. Interesting. Just really gold with Carol there, and she's in bad shape physically, and mentally. She's kind of losing it a little bit, and I'm rooting for her. She's one of the more interesting characters in the series, so hopefully she will be fine long term. But we also got this feeling of 6A just still rejecting Rick's group, and by the end of 6A, we see them kind of merge, and with the season premiere of 6B, mid-season premiere, we see the main two groups with Alexandria and Rick's group really merge and lead us into what would be the back half of the season. We see Alexandria come into play. Hilltop come into play. Which, that's really... I didn't have too many negatives with the season, but I really would have liked to see more from the Hilltop. Still don't really know what to make of them. They seemed, as a whole, weaker. But still, can we trust them? Can they? Is it a group worth trusting? It is really from a TV show standpoint. I know a lot of people read the comics and they get ahead. I even just mentioned the Kingdom because I've read stuff about that. But from a TV standpoint, right now we still don't know what to make of them, because it could be very different from the comics. We don't know what to make of Hilltop right now. It was too little to really determine. We got Jesus, who was a very interesting character, but another one we didn't get a lot of him. With Jesus and Hilltop, it seemed like they really just threw them in there to kind of introduce what's going on, and then pulled them back and really said, you'll get more of this next season. So I definitely want to see more of that going forward. But we also had 6B really just to build to Negan and the Saviors, and Rick's group just eliminating a lot of Saviors, and that made for some really dark episodes. And really, in this world, we've seen Rick and Rick's group do a lot of bad things, but they kind of reached new lows here in terms of they're not heroes anyway. They were always just kind of people, and we get that. But when we see Rick, who was so righteous in the beginning, to being the one now saying we have to go eliminate them right away, they don't even know who we are yet, it was dark. I mean, they're trusting Hilltop. What if Hilltop was the bad guys behind all this, and they just wanted the Saviors eliminated, and they didn't want to waste any of their guys? I mean, there's really so much going on there in terms of just Rick's group and really the thinking there. And Glenn really seemed to be one of the people that was really conflicted by it. And that would make it more ironic if Glenn is the one who gets it at the end. But really, I have to talk about that finale. I'm saying that because I don't have too much more time. I want to talk about the finale. The finale, in my opinion, was gold. I loved it. I loved the whole game of cat and mouse the Saviors were playing with Rick's group. However, after a while with Rick's group, I don't know why they kept just pushing forward the way they were into different paths. I would just go back to the path with the least amount of people and go. I mean, they saw it obviously getting bigger and bigger. Go back. So they might have actually tried to go back and have a lot of people there. I don't recall, but I feel like that would have been said more like, oh, go back. Let's try to go the first way they tried going. But besides that, it was a great game of cat and mouse. Loved what they were doing there. Then we get Negan, and that was the best 10 minutes of the season. Negan's charismatic. Jeffrey Dean Morgan, I believe is the actor's name. Fantastic. Really made for a strong debut, and I was speechless after it. I was really, really a fan of that finale. Negan, he's captivating. As soon as he was on screen, even for people who didn't know what to expect from this Negan character and what was coming, their attention was right on him as soon as he came on. He demanded it. And that's what I love. And I hope we see a lot of him next season. Because I want to see him in scenes with the Rick's group when they're not so weak. When it's just more of a dialogue. Maybe Negan's not like that. Maybe it's always just kind of the down the knees, he talks, they listen situation. We'll have to see. But I want to see so much more of that character. Because it's just so commanding. It, really in a way that Governor, Shane, Joe, the other villains, in a way they weren't. Really just very commanding, and you can tell he's going to be a big threat and a mainstay for a while just because of how he was presented. And he's got this really tough factor, kind of reminiscent of Daryl. And Daryl's still around. So I think he'll be around for a long time. And yeah, the last scene I thought was shot beautifully. I made a theory video on that. Definitely go watch that. Let me know who you thought gets it at the end. But I love the cliffhanger ending. I thought it was very, very well done. And a lot of people are still talking about it, and I think that was one of the ideas behind it. I know a lot of it was for people who are saying ratings, but really, a lot of us are still talking about it, so it succeeded. But that's it for this review of the Season 6 of Walking Dead. Let me know what you guys thought down below. Subscribe, because it takes around that much effort to do so. And until next time, you have been traumatized.